Good morning, fifth grade. Today is Wednesday, April the 8th, 2020. Today's lesson is Unit 6, Lesson 4B. Before we start, we have announcements and updates. Scholars, be sure to log into your literature and math classrooms daily by 9:45 a.m. to see if you've been invited back for our Reteach block. Literature Reteach starts at 10 a.m. and math at 10:45. Also, be sure to go in, review your score, and any feedback that's been left from the previous day. New lessons are posted daily at 12 p.m. If you have any questions about the content that you've learned for the day, be sure to visit us in our office hours starting at 2:15 for literature and 3:15 for math. All assignments should be completed by 10 p.m. daily. Please remember to mark as done. Here are a few tips for success in virtual learning. And let me be the first to say, I can tell that many of you guys paid attention to these tips on yesterday because you did really well and made some improvements on yesterday's assignments. The first tip is make sure to watch the videos. 2, complete the task with success in mind. 3, complete every component in the task. That means writing your notes, annotating. 4, use evidence to support your claim. And 5, if you have any questions, be sure to write them down in your notes and then visit us during our office hours so that we can help you be more successful. So our new challenge is the Lexia challenge. Scholars, remember, you should complete 30 minutes each day in Lexia by 10 p.m. This is a school-wide initiative, so it's fifth grade against every single grade. And let's face it, guys, we want to win. We need to give this Lexia shout out. Let's give a quick drum roll. We want to give a shout out to the scholars that are on track in completing their Lexia assignments. They are Tempe, Emmanuel, Amelia, Lyric, Anira, Jakira, Philip, Monica, Julian, Alberto, and Dayame. Now I have a special shout out for Dayame. Guys, Dayame has completed so many minutes on Lexia. Leaning in, she has more minutes in Lexia in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. Say, rock it out, Dayame. Way to go, you guys. Scholars, congratulations. Keep up the work. I cannot wait to see tomorrow how many more scholars will be on our list. Let's talk about the ACE paragraphs. So today is a big day. We have an exit ticket. And exit tickets, they mean ACE paragraphs. Be sure when writing your ACE paragraph, you include an argument, context, 2 pieces of evidence, and an analysis. Again, scholars, today's assignment is an exit ticket, and it must be an ACE paragraph. An ACE paragraph includes an argument, context, 2 pieces of evidence, and an analysis. We are not done giving shout outs. We would like to give a shout out to the following students for their reteach. They showed a lot of grit, grind, and determination during reteach. Let's give a quick drum roll. Those scholars are Jaden, Danya, and Julian. Say, ooh, they did that. Good job, guys. Keep up the good work. So, scholars, let's do a quick recap of all of our announcements and updates. 1, log in to literature and math by 9:45 a.m. You're checking to see if you've been invited back to Reteach block. You're also going in to check your previous day's scores and feedbacks. Remember, lessons are posted daily by 12 p.m. If you have any questions, visit us in our office hours starting at 2:15 for literature, 3:15 for math. Be sure to complete all of your lessons daily by 10 p.m. That's including Lexia. Complete them by 10 p.m. and mark as done. If you've forgotten to mark as done previous lessons, go back and mark those lessons as done. These are all of your announcements and updates. Look forward to seeing you in the lesson. Hi, scholars. Welcome back. We are getting ready to dive into Unit 6, Lesson 4B. Here are a few materials that you will need for today's lesson. Chapter 4, pages 28 and 30, a sheet of paper, pencil, distraction-free location, and you're going to need your notes from yesterday. Scholars, if you have not read pages 28 and 30 and completed your DIRT quiz, go ahead and pause now and then join us back once you have finished. All right, scholars, now that you have gotten all of your materials completed and you are ready, let's go ahead and dive in. Remember, if you have any questions, write those questions down on your notes and then visit us in our office hours at 2:15 today. Remember that we're one big learning family, all here to support, grow as learners, and make this virtual experience the best experience ever. All right, scholars, before we dive in, let's go over a few vocabulary terms. The first one is emblem. What word? An emblem is a noun. It's a device or symbolic object as a distinctive badge of a nation, organization, or a family. The word is emblem. What word? The next word is divine. What word? Divine is an adjective. It's of, from, or God, or a god. Again, the word is divine and it is an adjective. What word? The next word is grandeur. What word? Grandeur is a noun. It's a splendor of impressiveness, especially of appearance or style. Grandeur. What word? Scholars, remember, I am looking, and Ms. Richardson is looking as well, to see if you use any of these words in your answers, in your independent practice, and your exit ticket. Let's review those words one more time. Emblem, what word? Divine, what word? Grandeur, what word? All right, scholars, let's move on and dive into today's lesson. Right. So our focus question has been the same. It was the same question as yesterday. And we are contrasting the ways Cleopatra and Caesar established their power. On your notes today, I want you to go ahead and date it for April the 8th, 2020. Today's lesson is Unit 6, Lesson 4B. Go ahead and take this time to write down our focus question. We're moving. So our prompt we have already attacked, but I want to make sure that we are still aware of what we're looking for because today we have to answer our exit ticket. In our prompt, it says, contrast the ways Cleopatra and Caesar established their power. 1, we need to explain how Caesar established his power. 2, we need to explain how Cleopatra established her power. And 3, we need to explain the key differences. When you're answering your exit ticket prompt today, be sure that you have done all 3 steps to have a successful ACE paragraph. We're moving. So as a recap from yesterday, we talked and focused about Caesar. How did Caesar establish his power? We answered by saying Caesar was a powerful ruler because he conquered and then ensured the safety of his people. Caesar is characterized as a leader who was willing to be ruthless in battle, but also try to be fair. The author writes that Caesar fought back using the daring and ruthless moves that made him famous and was willing to execute his enemies to prove his point. However, he also tried to convince Ptolemy to end the fighting. Caesar advised Ptolemy to be faithful to the Romans and to consider the welfare of the Egyptian people. Here, he tried to save the people he was trying to conquer. This highlights that Caesar established his power by doing whatever it took to win while doing what was in the best interest of his people. So, scholars, that was our focus on yesterday's Caesar, and today we're focusing on Cleopatra. So, our annotation and discussion notes for today, be sure to have your pencil and paper down. You are writing. The question is, how did Cleopatra establish her power? Go ahead and write this annotation and discussion prompt down. How did Cleopatra establish her power? You have about 10 seconds to get that question down and be ready to roll. All right, scholars. So today's focus is to identify ways that Cleopatra established her power. Our focus today is only on Cleopatra. And you guessed it, that means we have to write or create our T-chart. Go ahead, get your notes out. We're going to create a T-chart. Today's T-chart will have 6 boxes in our T-chart. On the left side, we're going to label it how Cleopatra established power. On the right side, we're going to label it evidence. In each box on the left, we are writing Cleopatra powerful because equals. Again, in each box on the left, we are writing Cleopatra powerful because and equal. I am going to write along with you as we complete this task. We will have 1 minute. Again, we're setting up our chart and we have 1 minute. We need a big box today. If you look on the screen, I have my one big T-chart. We have 1 more minute. Our time is up. I'm sorry, guys. At the top, we want to make sure that we write how Cleopatra established power. Giving you a few more seconds. We're writing how Cleopatra established power. We have our T-chart and we are ready. We're moving. All right, scholars. So now it is time for us to dive into our book. And find out some ways that Cleopatra established her power. We're going to start on page 28. We're starting at the lover's voyage, and we're just going to read to the bottom of page 28. Again, we're starting at page 28. We're reading to the bottom of page 28. So we're reading this one paragraph here. You will have 1 minute, and the only thing you're doing is reading. If you have your book, you can go ahead, underline, annotate for ways that Cleopatra established her power. You have 1 minute. Your time has started. Right? So before I move on, I need to ask myself these two questions. How did Cleopatra live, and why did the Egyptians support her living in such an expensive way? Again, those two questions are, how did Cleopatra live, and why did the Egyptians support her living in such an expensive way? Think about that for 20 seconds in your head. Okay, now I need to go in and we need to find evidence to support our thoughts and the claim that we're going to write. I've gone in and I found some great pieces of evidence. I am looking again in the paragraph Lover's Voyage, and the evidence that I've identified is where they talk about her luxurious accommodations. And then I went down and I identified, after all, the Egyptians considered Cleopatra divine and treated her accordingly. Remember what divine meant. It's a key vocabulary word. Again, my notes and my annotations are, after all, the Egyptians considered Cleopatra divine and treated her accordingly. I am now going into my notes. You guys are writing. We're going to write together. We're in our very first piece of evidence. I'm going to give us 1 minute. We are simply writing the evidence that you currently see on your screen. We are going to write it together. Luxurious accommodations. After all, the Egyptians considered Cleopatra divine and treated her accordingly. We have 1 minute. We are now writing on our T chart, the very first box on the right under evidence. Let's start writing. Go. It's important that we write these pieces of evidence down because that is going to help us when we answer our exit ticket prompt. Ooh, my little fingers are moving. All right, scholars, so that you are crystal clear on your notes under your very first piece of evidence, you should have written down luxurious accommodations. After all, the Egyptians considered Cleopatra divine and treated her accordingly. So now that we have our piece of evidence, what statement do we need to make? Yes, we need to complete our Cleopatra is powerful because statement. I am putting 1 minute on the clock. You are going to write in your notes by completing the statement. So you're writing the very first box on your left. Cleopatra powerful because you're going to finish that statement. You have 1 minute. While you're writing, I'm writing. Let's go. 30 more seconds. Again, you're finishing your powerful statement. If you did not get all of your evidence down, take this time to go ahead and complete your evidence as well. 10 seconds remaining. All right. We're moving. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek. So I have completed my very first row on my T-chart. I have my evidence. I have my because statement. I wrote Cleopatra is powerful because her people believe she is divine and a goddess. So I have my very first row completed. I now have 4 more boxes to fill out. So let's go ahead and move on. Grab your books. Turn to page 30. Before we start reading page 30, I want you to consider a few questions. Why did Cleopatra want to meet Caesar? How did Cleopatra manage to meet Caesar? And why did she need to do this? Again, why did Cleopatra want to meet Caesar? How did Cleopatra manage to meet Caesar? And why did she need to do this? You are thinking about those as we start reading page 30. You're going to start at the top of page 30 and you're reading all the way down to loyalty of all Egyptians. Again, you're reading to, it's starting at the top of page 30, and you're reading to loyalty of all Egyptians. You're going to take 1 minute to reread this section. Again, starting at the top of page 30, reading to the end of the first paragraph that ends with loyalty of all Egyptians. You have 1 minute. Your time has started. All right, scholars. So I have written and identified my very first piece of evidence that I would like to use that tells me ways that Cleopatra gained her power. I have identified it. If you go to the very top of page 30, it is the second sentence. And I wrote, well, annotated. I haven't written yet. I annotated that she used this trip to stage her comeback and to give her people a chance to experience her grandeur firsthand. So now that I have identified that piece of evidence, let's go right over to our T chart and let's write down our very first piece of evidence. Again, we're going over to our T chart and we're writing down our first piece of evidence. So this is going to be my first piece of evidence. We have 1 minute. I will put the evidence back on the screen, but we are writing the evidence that she used the trip to stage a comeback and give her people a chance to experience her grandeur firsthand. Scholars, please note you can use this evidence and paraphrase as long as you get your evidence down on your T chart. So you do not have to write it word from what I am saying or what the book is saying, but you need to either paraphrase it and the goal is for you to get your evidence in your T chart. All right. We have 1 minute and we're writing. Twenty more seconds. All right, scholars. So on our T chart, we have one piece of evidence. I now want you to go in and find another piece of evidence. Again, I want you to go in and find another piece of evidence. I am giving you, what is happening? I am giving you, I'll give you 1 minute. Find your evidence, write your evidence down. Ten seconds. All right, that is our time. And guys, I took my own advice. I paraphrased my second piece of evidence. I wrote down her presence left no doubts about her power, and I found that on page 30. Again, I did paraphrase my second piece of evidence. I wrote down her presence left no doubts about her power. I found that on page 30. So now that we have these two great pieces of evidence, we now need to finish our because statement. Cleopatra is powerful because. I am giving you 1 minute. You need to go in. You're completing the second box on the left hand side. You're completing the statement. Cleopatra is powerful because your 1 minute has started. 10 seconds. All right. So I have my two pieces of evidence. I've completed my because statement, and I wrote Cleopatra is powerful because she shows her grandeur and her lavish lifestyle, which leads people to believe that she is powerful. Did anyone catch that? I have used our vocabulary term twice in my evidence and in my because statement. This way will ensure that when I'm ready to write my eighth paragraph and I go back and look in my notes, I'm using the vocabulary terms. We are almost done. Stick in there with me. So let's go to our very last row in our T chart. Now we're asking ourselves, why did Cleopatra go to her? Nope, I'm sorry. We are asking, why did we are asking ourselves, why did Cleopatra? Oh my goodness, I can't talk. We are asking ourselves, why did Cleopatra go to Memphis? Again, we're asking ourselves, why did Cleopatra go to Memphis? I'm going to correct this on our PowerPoint. And while I'm correcting that, I want you to go back in, skim back over the text, find evidence to show why Cleopatra went back to Memphis. Your minute has started. All right, that is our time. We're going back to our new and improved PowerPoint, and we've thought about it. Why did Cleopatra go back to Memphis? We have our evidence listed to tell us why she went back to Memphis. Now we need to fill in our because statement. Cleopatra is powerful because. Actually, guys, I realized I did not give you the opportunity to fill in your evidence statement. Be sure I found my best piece of evidence. It's at on page 30. It's at the end of the first paragraph, and it talks about Cleopatra going back to Memphis with a powerful protector, and that will earn her unconditional respect and loyalty of all Egyptians. I want to make sure that I write that in my evidence. Again, you can absolutely paraphrase. I am going to paraphrase, putting a minute on the timer. Let's go. I have 15 seconds. If you have some time left, go ahead and start writing your because statement. All right, scholars, we have completed our evidence. We now need to complete our because statement. 1 minute is on the timer. Let's go. Twenty-five seconds. All right, scholars. So if you look on the screen, I have a completed T-chart. I have 3 reasons that explains the way Cleopatra established her power, and I have at least 1 piece of evidence for each reason. Again, I have 3 reasons that explains how Cleopatra established her power, and then I have at least 1 piece of evidence for each reason or each way. Your T-chart should be completely filled out at this point. I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds. If you need to revise it, add a little more to your T-chart. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Look over your T-chart. Make sure that you have a response in each box on the left, and you have a piece of evidence in each box on the right. You have 30 seconds and your time has started. All right, scholars, so now that we have our T-chart completed, we're ready to go ahead, review it, and head over and complete our exit ticket. I want to show you guys something, and this is just a great practice. This is my T-chart from today that tells me ways that Cleopatra established her power. When I flip it over, I have my T-chart on the back that tells me ways Caesar established his power. And I keep it like this, so when I'm ready to write my exit ticket, I'm not looking through paper. I have a very quick and easy resource to go to. So again, on one side, it's about Caesar, and the back side is about Cleopatra. Let's finish our lesson for today. So our annotation and discussion prompt for today was, how did Cleopatra establish her power? And Mrs. Trotter responded by saying, Cleopatra was powerful because her people believed she was a goddess and were very loyal to her. Cleopatra is a powerful leader because she publicly shows her grandeur and lavish lifestyle, which convinces people of the magnificence of her presence, therefore leaving no doubt about her power or her strength as Egypt's ruler and divine goddess. This highlights that Cleopatra was a powerful and charming woman who strategically went through traditional ceremonies to prove and gain trust as a leader. As a result, they were very loyal to her. So that is my response to today's discussion prompt. We're moving. Scholars, your notes today should answer the following question. How did Cleopatra establish her power? I'm so sorry. I've made another mistake. Remember, Mrs. Trotter is human as well. The question today was, how did Cleopatra establish her power? On your chart, you should have listed 3 ways with evidence for each way. Scholars, I do want to remind you today's exit ticket is an ACE response. You will need to go back and look at those 3 questions. 1, how did Caesar establish his power? 2, how did Cleopatra establish her power? And 3, what are the key differences? You'll need to answer all 3 questions in order to have a successful ACE paragraph. Be sure to use your T-charts. They will help you greatly. I have enjoyed working with you guys today, and I cannot wait to see you tomorrow.